Hey everyone, if you want to make your own podcast but you don't know where to begin, Spotify for Podcasters makes it super easy. They've got everything in one place, it's totally free, and you can make money while doing it. Here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start doing it today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and pretty much everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also supported, and you can even conduct polls and Q&As. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, the platform is totally free. No catch, totally free. When I wanted to start my own podcast, I did not know where to begin, and I didn't think it was even possible. And Spotify for Podcasters made it happen. They made it easy, they made it quick, and I am doing something that I love. What more can I ask for? So if you're interested in starting your own show, you can do it, and I highly recommend you give this a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Everything Kratom, the podcast about anything and everything Kratom. Always great to have you with us, and especially on this Wednesday morning. Hope all is going great with you. As you may recall, we started off the 2022 year, the 2022 calendar year, with the prediction that this year was going to be the year of state-by-state battles over Kratom, right? Well, we're 3 weeks into the year, and where do things sit so far? Well, whenever I'm tooting my own horn, I always like to say, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm going to toot my own horn. I was right, and I'm so excited that I was right. There are state-by-state battles happening everywhere, and it's just so neat. Like, when you get to make a prediction and it actually comes true, like I'm an amateur podcaster here. It's not like I know what's going to happen, but I was right. So I am tooting my own horn today. But I'm really excited because, it just means that I'm getting a better grasp of what's happening on the national scene. And it's just kind of neat. It's kind of neat when that happens. So anyway, let's get past and aside my personal boasting of being able to predict 3 weeks into the future, and let's get into the episode today. So thanks for sticking with me here. So today I wanted to look at two bills, mainly one bill, but just the general idea of this state-by-state battle thing actually, kind of coming to fruition. Washington State and Kentucky. So Washington, they just introduced into their Senate Bill 5743, and that was on January 11th. And Senate Bill 5743 basically is meant to make Kratom illegal in Washington State. And it's up there with, all of these other controlled substances that they have in Washington State. And the if you look at the bill, I'll include both of the bills, links to the bills on this episode. It is included with a bunch of chemical names that no one can pronounce unless they're a scientist, and a few that people are familiar with. And it, of course, now includes the two active alkaloids in Kratom. And it's pretty extensive, the amount of chemicals on here that Kratom would be joining if it does pass. I have no read on the Senate in Washington, so I do not know what is going to happen with that bill. But I do know that the AKA is on it. There was a tweet from Mac Haddow the other day addressing this. And so we will see, what sort of mobilization efforts can happen before the Senate votes on this bill. So keep your eyes open for that. The reason why I wanted to focus on this other bill, the Kentucky House Bill 142, is because there's a little more detail in this one other than just making Kratom illegal, but it's actually got some information as to what that would entail. So I'm going to go over this. And there were a lot of great comments on Kentucky's state legislature website where this bill is being considered, just from, average Joes, everyday people who don't want to see Kratom taken away. And there's some really great comments there that tug at your heart a bit. So definitely check those out. So taking a look at this bill, again, as always, I'll mention, I'm not going to read through the whole bill. You can check it out yourself if you'd like, but I am going to go through the key components. So, part of the Kentucky House Bill 142. Basically, this is bringing Kratom into the fold with all of their, illegal substances and controlled substances. So listen to this. It adds Kratom into this already existing description. A person is guilty of trafficking in a controlled substance in the first degree when he or she knowingly and unlawfully traffics in either 4 grams or more of cocaine, 2 grams or more of methamphetamine, 10 or more dosage units of a controlled substance that is classified in Schedules 1 or 2 and is a narcotic drug or a controlled substance analog, or any quantity of heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil, or fentanyl derivatives, lysergic acid, diethylethime. Oh my God, I can never say that. LSD, people. It lists a number of other things, and then it says, and Kratom, which is in bold because this proposed bill is bringing Kratom into the fold here. So right off the bat, let's just look at that. They are including Kratom in their drug trafficking laws and equating it to if you were trafficking 2 grams or more of methamphetamine, 4 grams or more of cocaine into Kentucky. That's what they're equating Kratom to. 2 grams or more of methamphetamine, 4 grams or more of cocaine. If you are trafficking any quantity of Kratom. And on top of that, what is it listed with? What paragraph is it in? It's listed in the same paragraph. Any quantity of heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil, all these other things, or Kratom. That's just nuts to me. And then it goes on. It says, the amount specified in subsection 1 of this section may occur in a single transaction or may occur in a series of transactions over a period of time not to exceed 90 days. So that's just saying, basically, at least from what I can tell, that it's saying that, like, if you're caught with a certain amount of cocaine one day and then a certain amount the next day, like, those two can be added up against you within 90 days. So then it says, any person who violates the provisions of subsection 1A, B, C, or D of this section shall be guilty of a Class C felony for the first offense and a Class B felony for the second or subsequent offense. So that's pretty crazy. And I think that it's like, I think that's just absurd. A person is guilty of possession of a controlled substance in the first degree when he or she knowingly and unlawfully possesses controlled substance, yada yada, controlled substance analog, methamphetamine, LSD, all these other ones, and Kratom. And then finally, possession of controlled substance in the first degree is a Class D felony subject to the following provisions. So this is, now we're finally getting into the punishment here of possession. The maximum term of incarceration shall be no greater than 3 years. For a person's first or second offense under this section, he or she may be subject to a period of deferred prosecution or presumptive probation. So here's, this is the crux of it, everybody. So what they're saying is, if you possess Kratom, if you possess any amount of Kratom in Kentucky under this bill, any amount, you will be subject to an incarceration term that could add up to 3 years. And they're saying, like, they're implying that deferred prosecution or like presumptive probation should be the first thing, if it's their first offense. But if it's their second, like, let it go. That's just like, that's just crazy to me. Can you imagine you have 1 gram of Kratom and you go to prison for 3 years? Like, really, that's what this is opening, this is opening that up to the realm of possibility. So I think that basically, to just kind of stand back and from a 10,000 foot view, this is really just the beginning, right? We're going to be seeing this happen all over the country. I think that the reason why, and I might be wrong about this, but I think the reason why is because there's going to be some push in some states to try and make Kratom legal, like in Vermont, which we're going to actually go back to tomorrow. I know I already did an episode on Vermont a week and a half ago, but there's already something relevant that's popped up that we're going to cover. So stay tuned for that. But so in some places like, Vermont, there's this push to start, to make Kratom legal and more accessible. And then in other states, and I think that's driven by, the motivation from the World Health Organization recently deciding that it's not worth a critical review. But of course, there's been existing pushes before that happened. But then on the other side of the aisle, when you're looking at states that are trying to make it illegal, I think the motivation, in my opinion, would be that states are getting scared. Like, legislators are getting scared because the opioid numbers aren't going down, right? They're going up. But the deaths aren't, like the same. The deaths have moved on. It's not just opioids anymore. It's like synthetic opioids. It's these synthetic drugs that are killing people. And I think that people are scared because, especially these leaders, not only do they need to, I think they feel the need that they need to show they've gained some ground on the opioid crisis, which they can't do because it's impossible. It just keeps on going. It's the worst it's ever been, pretty much. However many years into it we are. And so they feel like they need to gain ground, but then also it's like I think that it's very new to them. Like, how many lawmakers, when they first started their tenure, let's say, a lot of these people are incumbents. Let's say they got in, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and this was starting to become a real issue, or it was a real issue. But it's not like everyone came into their office thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to learn everything I can about different substances that are analogs to opioids or synthetic opioids that are, coming from China and starting to infect our younger population. Like, it's a very interesting, time-specific, unique problem that's just blown up in the US. And I think that they're just plain scared and they don't know what to do. And Kratom is this weird thing that isn't mainstream necessarily yet, but it's starting to make its way into the general conversation. And, for a lot of these people, the DEA decision to ban it, like with the emergency ban in 2016, that's the first time they heard about Kratom. And then the ban didn't happen because people were, outspoken about it. But I don't think they've been following it closely necessarily. And so they hear about these different things like, Kratom-related deaths here and there. And now that the synthetic, opioids are taking over, I think that's actually making it more of a reason for lawmakers to kind of hear about Kratom and be like, oh yeah, let's just get rid of it. Like, let's not take any chances because we're already dealing with so much, and let's try and eliminate all this stuff. Let's make fentanyl impossible to get. Let's make Kratom impossible to get. I don't know what it is, but people always use it in the same sentence with opioids, so let's get rid of it, right? And I totally understand that thinking, if that's the thinking of a lot of lawmakers, but it doesn't mean that it's right? And it's going to be a tough, long haul, conversation-wise in these different states that are critical of Kratom right now. But you know what? There is hope. There's a lot of hope. I'm very optimistic, and I've said that at the beginning of the year, and I still mean it. We've already seen, since 3 weeks ago, we've already seen one state turn around 180, Wisconsin, and go from illegal Kratom classification to a KCPA and a well-thought-out plan to bring in Kratom back into the public sphere and in a responsible manner. So, that's about as optimistic as you can get. That's doing 180. Next up, Vermont, the neighbor of my childhood. Not friendly to Kratom at the moment, but there's some movement, and that's a little sneak preview of what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So I'll leave it there. Ha ha ha. Cliffhanger. Gotcha. Okay, I hope everybody out there is having a great day. And of course, we will be back tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening. You all are great. All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.